January 28, 1948, there was a chartered plane crash in the western part of Fresno County, California, at a place called Los Gatos Canyon. This is not the city of Los Gatos. This is a rural area in some rough hills. The plane was taking 28 Mexican nationals who had been deported and bringing them back to Mexico. Some of them had entered the country illegally to look for farm work. Most of them, however, had entered illegally as contract workers, what we then called braceros. But their contracts had ended and they were supposed to leave right away. Some of them had stayed around, possibly looking for additional work, possibly just wanting to spend the money they had made. Anyway, these 28 were being sent, as I said, in this chartered aircraft. Somewhere along the line, it ran into engine trouble and crashed in the hills in Fresno County, about 20 miles from Coalinga. And all 32 people aboard were killed. The 32 people included the pilot, the co-pilot, the cabin attendant, who was married to the pilot, and an Immigration and Naturalization Service agent who was escorting the deportees. The AP dispatch that appeared in the New York Times the next day and was read over the radio, over WINS radio, among others, mentioned the names of the pilot, the co-pilot, the cabin attendant, and the immigration agent, but it never mentioned the names of the other 28 people. Instead, it said the others were deportees. Woody Guthrie was incensed by this, and he wrote some lyrics that were essentially talking blues. They didn't have much of a melody. Recently, the original Woody Guthrie recording has been released. You could hear it on the internet. And those lyrics appeared in a book called American Folk Songs of Protest that was published in the early 50s. A university student at Colorado State University, then called Colorado State College, was a folk singer, the college scene in the 1950s. He found the lyrics in the book and he wrote this hauntingly beautiful tune to it. He made a homemade recording, and then Pete Seeger came to Colorado Springs in 1957 and did a concert. After the concert, there was a party. And this young fellow named Martin Hoffman went to the party and he said to Pete Seeger, I wrote a tune to Woody Guthrie's words, and he sang it for him. Pete Seeger was enthralled. He said, "Can I sing that tune?" Martin Hoffman said yes. Pete Seeger brought that tune back to New York City and spoke to Howard Richmond, who was the publisher of Ludlow Music, among other things, that a lot of Woody Guthrie's music was published by. And there was an agreement that the song would be published with the credit going equally to Woody Guthrie and Martin Hoffman. And that's the song that Maria's going to sing. You know it as Deportee or Deportees. Kind of a tragic ending. Some years later, Martin Hoffman took a rifle and committed suicide. He was a troubled young man and he felt very lonely. He was a good friend of Judy Collins, and she wrote a song called Song for Martin about him. So that song for Martin, is about the same Martin Hoffman who wrote the tune that we know to Deportee. Many years later, a fellow named Tim Hernandez did some research and he found the names of all the 28 deportees. They had been buried in a common grave in Fresno, California, without their names on the tombstone. The names were added, I believe around 2014 or so. There was a list of people being deported, but some of the names were wrong because some people gave fake names, and in some cases the immigration agency didn't understand how Spanish naming conventions work. So if someone's name was Pedro Garcia Hernandez, they listed him on the manifest as Pedro Hernandez. when in fact his family name was Garcia. And as I say, I'm going to turn it over to Marie now and let the song speak for itself.
And Joe, who wrote the verse you're going to do? You wrote it, so we have another verse. And of course, I tried it with the shoebox, and I said it just worked, and it made it feel like a memorial to these incredible people who died, because this instrument kind of feels like it's coming from the ground. It's so special. Okay, and please sing on the chorus. The crops are all in, peaches are ripening, the oranges piled in their creosote dumps. You're flying them back to the Mexican border to pay off their money to lay back again. Goodbye to my one, goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus mi Maria. You won't have any when you ride the airplane. All they will call you will be deportees. My father's own father, he waded that river. He took all the money he made in his life. My brothers and sisters come working the fruit trees. They rode the trucks till they took down and died. Some of us are illegal, and some of us not wanted. Our work contracts out, and we have to move on. 600 miles to the Mexican border. They chase us like outlaws, like rustlers, like thieves. Goodbye to my one, goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus mi Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the airplane. All they will call you will be deportees. We died in your hills, we died in your deserts, we died in your valleys and died on your plains. We died beneath your trees and died in your bushes, both sides of the river. We died just the same. The sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon, a fireball of lightning that shook all our hills. Who are these friends, all scattered like dry leaves? The radio says they are just deportees. Goodbye to my one, goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus mi Maria. You won't have a name when you ride the airplane. All they will call you will be deportees. Is this the best way we can grow our big orchards? Is this the best way we can grow our good fruit? To fall like dry leaves, to rot on my topsoil, and be called by no name except deportees.
And now we are hunted for deportation when we obey the law and show up at a court, or go to a job, or attend our school classes. They separate families to jail and deport.
Adios, amigo. Adios, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos. Jesús y María no tendrán un nombre, Juan toman el que bien grande. Lo que es llaman será deportees. Goodbye to my one. Goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos. Jesús y María. You won't have a day when you fly a big airplane. All that will fall you will be Thank you.
You need a moment to, yeah, what goes into that song? You got your harp?
I want your being Jake.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Give me the people's key. They're all the people's keys.
Oh. Ready? One, we'll count it down. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Did you ever see a hang-a-tie slip-knot? Did you ever see the hangman with a slip-knot? Well, I've seen him many times. He whines and he whines, and after 13 times he got him a slip-knot. Will the slip-knot slip? No, it will not. I said, will that slip-knot slip? No, it will not. When it goes around your neck, don't come off again. That slip-knot, oh Lord God, that slip-knot. Did you ever see your brother on a slip-knot? Did you ever catch your sister on a slip-knot? Well, when they tried to vote, they took a bloody rope and they left them there to choke on a slip-knot. Now, who makes the laws for a slip-knot? I said, who has a life to a slip-knot? And the bones of many a man, they still whistle in the wind, because we tie a life to a slip-knot. Well, I'll tell you, it's Racy ties a life to a slip-knot. And old Jim Crow, he's always there with a slip-knot. You know how it goes, round and round. Let's end it soon, that slip-knot. Well, did you ever see a hangman with a slip-knot? Did you ever see a hangman tie that slip-knot? Well, I've seen it many times. I think that it's a crime. Let's end it in our time, that slip-knot. Yes, I've seen it many times, and I think that it's a crime. Let's end it in our time, that slip-knot.
Okay, we're gonna get into a little cowboy stuff now. Woody Guthrie was never a cowboy that way. He was from what was essentially a middle-class family. His father was in the real estate business, made a lot of money, but then had a lot of reversals of fortune. And some bad things happened. There were a couple of fires, one that destroyed a new family home, another one that killed Woody's older sister, Clara, another one that severely injured his father, Charlie. Woody had an uncle who was in business with his dad, and the uncle was killed in a motorcycle accident. And Woody's mom gradually went insane and died in the Oklahoma State Mental Asylum from a disease that at the time was called Huntington's chorea, now called Huntington's disease. Woody was sent to live with relatives. He was sent to the Texas Panhandle, where he lived with his Uncle Jeff and Aunt Eileen. And Jeff, he was a deputy sheriff, but he had worked a couple of times as a ranch hand, and Woody picked up a little bit of stuff from him and picked up a lot of cowboy songs. This song Woody did not write, but he did record it in two-part harmony with his sidekick, Cisco Houston. It has a lot of strange cowboy talk in it. I ride an old paint. The paint is a Pinto, an American paint horse. It means that it was, if it were a car, we'd call it a two-tone. Does that make sense? I lead an old Dan. A Dan is a pack horse. You don't ride on a Dan. You lead it with a lead rein, and you put all your belongings on there, your extra blankets and your bedroll and your grub and so on. Run to Montana to throw the Julian. A Julian, or a hula hand, sometimes called, is a way of tying a lariat. The lariat, lariata, is a lasso. And generally, if you're roping cattle, you do it forehand. You swing it around and try to pull in that cap. Never did it myself. Now, throwing a Julian, no, is backhand, but you play tennis, you know what backhand is, right? So what you do is you try, do this, and you try to rope a banjo down. I'm not very good at it, but when you're throwing the Julian, it just means you're taking the lasso instead of doing forward with it, you're going backwards with it. Let's see, they feed them in coulees. A coulee is kind of a dry gulch. It's an area that may have been a waterway, but now it's kind of grassland. Maybe it floods in the rainy season, but it has high embankments around it. They water in the drawer. A drawer is if you have a little stream and there's a place where the water collects. That's called the drawer. Their tails are all matted, their backs are all right. I think you'll be able to get that yourself. Dogie. Dogie is not a canine. It's a cattle. Originally it meant a stray that didn't have a mama. Well, it had a mama, we just don't know who it was. I ride an old paint, I lead an old Dan. I'm gone to Montana to throw the Julian. They feed them in coulees, they water in the drawers. Their tails are all matted, their backs are all raw. It has a chorus. Ride round, little doggies, ride round, they're slow. They're fiery and snuffy and raring to go. Oh, fiery and snuffy. When your cattle are fiery, it means they have a lot of energy. You know, they are strong cattle, raring to go. If they're snuffy, it means they're easily spooked. It means the slightest sound could set them stampeding. Fiery and snuffy is not a good combination if you heard. Ride round, little doggies, ride round, they're slow. They're fiery and snuffy and raring to go. Well, I've been in the army and I worked on the farms. All I gotta show are these muscles in my arms. Blisters on my feet and the calluses on my hand. Where am I going? I'm gone to Montana to throw the Julian. Ride around, little doggies, ride around, they're slow. They're fiery and snuffy and raring to go. Old Bill Jones shows up in a lot of cowboy songs. I don't know if he was a real person or not, but It's a real story. You could understand this because anyone who's had kids knows this. Old Bill Jones had a daughter and a son. The son went to college, but the daughter went wrong. His wife was killed in a barroom fight, and still he keeps singing from morning till night. Ride round, little doggies, ride round, they're slow. They're fiery and snuffy and raring to go. Now when I die, don't bury me at all. Put me on my pony, lead him out of his stall. Tie my bones to the saddle, turn our faces to the west, and we'll ride the prairie that we love the best. Isn't that a sweet thought? Ride round, little doggies, ride round, they're slow. They're fiery and snuffy and raring to go. Ride round, little doggies, ride round, they're slow. They're fiery and snuffy and raring to go. Yeah. I mentioned Woody Guthrie sang that and recorded it in two-part harmony with his sidekick, Cisco Houston. Cisco Houston was his most remarkable singer. Underappreciated. He turned out a few records on his own, but most of his great recordings were singing harmony with Woody Guthrie. They served together in the U.S. Merchant Marine during World War II, got torpedoed several times. Cisco, unfortunately, he was really young, only 42 years old when he died of stomach cancer in 1961. I never had a chance to hear either Woody Guthrie or Cisco Houston alive. When I was 13, that was in 1960, I was allowed to take the subway on my own without having my older brother or my mother or my father with me. And the first place I headed, well, I was going to say Greenwich Village, but that's not true. I went to Nassau Street down near City Hall because I was a rabid stamp collector, and they had a whole cluster of stamp stores down there. They even had this tall building at 116 Nassau Street, just filled with stamp dealers. But anyway, that's aside. The second place I went to was Washington Square Park. And people who were a little older than me, I'm not talking like 20 or 30 years, I'm talking like just 5 or 6 years older, would talk about Woody and Cisco and going to hear them and visit them, and that Woody was in a hospital somewhere, but they would let him out on weekends, and he would go to people's houses and they'd have parties. I just never knew where any of these things were. I was just like a 13-year-old kid, and this was just going around, and these people who were maybe 10 years older than me or 8 years older than me were having these adventures, and they said about Cisco Houston that he would perform at Cafe Society down on 7th Avenue, and I just missed it. I mean, that's, I made up for it, though. Before we do this last song, we're ready for the finale, I'd like to call up Ellie Pope. Ellie Pope is this great singer. She's got to come up here. She sang this song at a Baltimore Orioles game in front of the stadium.
True. I was 17, just a little baby.
And let's see if you could share one of these microphones.
Sure.
Yeah, let's see. You want chairs? Yeah, give her a chair.
All right. A chair. What an honor.
Before we start this song, though, while Ellie is getting into place, I heard Ellie sing this wonderful recital of Brahms' love songs, waltzes. They were love song waltzes. They were all in German, though I didn't understand them. I know a little Yiddish, but Deutsch, that's beyond me. Anyway, it was beautiful. And before I start this song, I want to say there's some controversy about it. A lot of indigenous people, a lot of Native American Indians feel that this song celebrates the theft of their land. And I know that was undoubtedly not Woody Guthrie's intent, but we should recognize that people honestly feel that way. And so just keeping that in mind, welcome to sing along with us. We're all going to be in the key of D major. I'll start. Sorry. As I went walking that river highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley, and I said, this land was made for you and me.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and I ran and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me.
As I was walking in the sound of the sea, by the relief forest, I saw my people. As I stood there hungry, I stood there wondering, was this land made for you and me? The sun came shining as I went strolling, with the wheat fields waiting and the dust clouds rolling. As the dawn was lifting, a voice came chanting, what did it say? This land was made for you and me.
When our democracy becomes plutocracy, laced with theocracy, drenched in hypocrisy, when rich men's dollars drowned out our hollers, that's the time that we'll take back this land.
This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island. From the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
A big high wall there, they tried to stop me. A sign was painted, said private property. But on the other side,